about something that, that is not sad, maybe a little frustrating, but also entertaining, chat. And that is Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Now, gotta talk about my experience with the Cyberpunk 2077 franchise, chat. Mixed bag, to say the least. Obviously, it's now. I mean, listen, a very commercially successful game. I enjoyed playing it for the most part. I know a number of people enjoyed playing it for the most part, but, it has its infamous reputation for a reason. CD Projekt Red overpromised a number of things, and they delivered, in my opinion, and I don't think this is a cruel way to describe it, but a lackluster product. It was not the end-all, be-all of video games, Chad. This was not the next generation, the next step in how games are going to be. It is not one of the greatest RPGs ever made. It's not. It's Fallout with a Cyberpunk skin on it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's fine. But don't make all these promises. Don't deliver a product that doesn't measure up to what you were originally showing everyone else. I mean, they lied. They straight up lied. They burned all the goodwill that they had cultivated over multiple years, over multiple games, especially with the Witcher series, Their previous game, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, they had some problems, they had some issues, of course, but for the most part, they delivered an amazing product and a fantastic RPG, and even the Witcher games before, especially I like Witcher 2 quite a bit. It's kind of underrated now because of how successful Witcher 3 has been. But, Witcher 2, I was, and then, the Witcher, I think everyone's like, a lot of people like that game, but it's dated at this point. People are like, yeah, it's kind of dated. I know they did a remaster recently, or remake, I guess it was a remaster, but, I'm more familiar with those two games. Great RPGs, especially the third one, Chad. I had so much fun with them. Well, I want to stream those one day. But, they burned a lot of fucking goodwill because of all their lies in regards to Cyber 2077. But I played it. I enjoyed my time with it. I like, the Vinny D saga, Chad. Good old V and Pan Am. That was a good time. I think it was lacking. It was constant bugs. I mean, check out my video streams that are now on my YouTube channel. My entire Cyberpunk saga is up there right now. Check soft locks, hard locks, crashes, you name it, it happened. Graphical glitches, funny, some frustrating. But, okay. CD Projekt Red, they want to make this into a franchise, a cross-media franchise, Chad. Not just in video games, but also in animation. And who knows, maybe live-action films one day. But for right now, animation. And that brings us to Cyberpunk Edgerunners, which is animated by Studio Trigger, supervised by CD Projekt Red, and it's being distributed by Netflix. And, the trailers for this, I have to say, they were crazy, to say the least. There's wow, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of colors. Things are moving very fast. A lot of strobing effects. Yeah, listen, I'll tell you right now, whether you watch that trailer, whether you watch the series, if you have epilepsy, if you are prone to seizures, all right, if that kind of thing bothers you, you might not like this show because there's a shit ton of it constantly throughout all these episodes. And it's something to behold. It's pretty cool. It might get a little tired after a while. Be like, all right, geez, I get it. All right, there's so much going on. But I would forewarn anyone before they go into the show. If you have any of those things, you might, I don't think you should watch it. I don't think you should watch it if you have that, because it probably will cause you to have epileptic, I can't talk, I'm fucking having a seizure too. An epileptic attack or a seizure, chat. So be careful, I would say. But for those that don't know, kind of the premise, this takes place in a dystopian city, chat. Night City's been overrun by, crime and corruption. You have the many citizens of the city, chat, from all certain walks of life, from the poorest people to the wealthiest people. They've enhanced themselves. They've augmented themselves with cybernetic implants. And you follow this one particular kid named David. He's a street kid. And after, basically losing everything in his life, he falls in with this gang of crooks, these con artists, these thieves, chat. And, they have to live from job to job to job. And also dealing with, a corporate conspiracy, chat. And, making sure that their lives as Edgerunners or cyberpunks continues on. By the way, it's funny because in the show, they literally say that, you're a cyberpunk or an edgerunner. So cyberpunk and edgerunner means exactly the same thing, which is confusing. So it's like you could have called this show Cyberpunk : Cyberpunk or Edgerunner : Edgerunner, which I think is funny. But it sounds better. Cyberpunk Edgerunner sounds a lot better, chat. But here's the thing. After a while, because I've watched most of the show so far, and I think it's 10 episodes. Each one's about 25 minutes long, and then you got like about 5 minutes of credits, so half hour, but they're 25-minute long episodes. I will say at the start of this series, the thing that immediately stands out about this series, and even the first of the episodes, are of course the animation itself and the aesthetic. This episode, this series opens up with a very well choreographed bloodbath that immediately grabs your attention. Heads exploding, people popping like bloody water balloons, everyone being ripped apart. And in addition, it looks great with its cyberpunk neon color scheme. There's pinks, there's blues, there's orange, and there's blood red. She's like, wow, that was a really great opening, in my opinion. It starts strong. It's like, okay, this is the world. It's a harsh world. It's a cruel world. It's like, if you don't have money, you ain't shit. That's the kind of world it is. Like, okay, that's cool. However, after that great opening, that's when we're getting a sense of the setting and the story, And I have to admit, in the first episode, I wasn't really digging it at first. The story just felt very familiar with the character of David, our lead. This underappreciated, this looked down upon teen dealing with, this prep school jerks and overworked mom constantly crying and talk about, her daily life. We've seen this before of like the street kid placed in a situation where other kids that are of a higher echelon of society and dealing with all that abuse. It's just a very, very familiar setting that we've seen hundreds of times, no matter what medium we're in or what genre we're in. It's not even cyberpunk, sci-fi, fantasy. I mean, why? We see this. And honestly, it felt pretty hokey. It was almost like, all right, we're spinning our wheels at this point. It's like, all right, here we go. And also another thing too, there are psychotic Stephen King bullies. There's cyberpunk Stephen King bullies in this show, and they're in that first episode. But still, it's like, okay, is this what we're doing? Is this what we're gonna? Okay, this is how it's gonna be. All right, who just hate him because, well, you're poor. We don't like the poors, and I'm like, okay. I'm not saying that doesn't happen in real life, but we see it constantly and all the time. It's like, all right. And they're just so psychotic and they act so criminal that it's like something has to be done about this. This is ridiculous. But we live in this is a ridiculous world. So I guess it's par for the course. But still, I'm like, all right, sure, whatever. But then all the other stuff too, everything felt hokey. Like the mom is like, I worked so hard to put you through school, and when I'm gone, you'll miss me, you'll appreciate me. I'm like, okay. And when tragedy does indeed strike in that first episode, it just feels like they're obligated to do it. It's like, well, of course. It's a lot of setup, but it's a lot of obvious setup that we've seen time and time again. However, I will say this. After that episode, the show does get better. And when it brings in characters that are part of like the crew that David falls into, like Lucy, Maine, who's like the leader of the group, this big hulking man chap, but he is sensitive deep down. Stereotype, sure. Lucy, the understanding femme fatale who likes to have fun, but there's a deep, she has more depth than you think. Stereotypes, but still. Once we're introduced to them and the rest of the Edgerunners, the show does pick up. It does get better when we get into the various scams, the various jobs they have to do. And it's like, okay, this is what you're here for, I think, some of the voice work I think is spotty for them. I watched the dub for the most part. I did kind of skip to like, okay, how's the sounding of the Japanese version? And, the Japanese version, it's like, it is a lot of screaming. It's like, they're yelling in English, but it's not nearly as loud. But there's a lot of that in the sub version. But if you like subs, go for it. But everyone's fucking yelling. Even when they're just kind of talking, it's like, this is supposed to be like a quiet conversation. Why are we all yelling at each other? It's not necessary. Also, the villains in the show, they feel very one note. They're just straight up corporate evil bad guys, but to be fair, that's what the video game was. Like, I couldn't even tell you who, you had Atom Smasher, and then you had the company, the Arasaka. What was the company's name? Arasaka, the Arasaka company. And, they're evil because they have to be. Because we love money and we want control. And you have anything else? Nah, it's just money and control. It's like, okay. And that's all they do. Also, that's perfectly representative in the character of Faraday, which, it's funny, because I think a lot of the voice cast, they do a good job. The guy that does the voice of David, he's good. Zach Aguilar, Lucy, voiced by Emily Lowe. William C. Stevenson, who does Maine. I think they do a good job. But the person I actually did not particularly care for in this series, at least for the most part, at least what I've watched, which is most of the episodes at this point, they have Giancarlo Esposito again. Giancarlo Esposito is a very talented actor, but I just kind of want to stop seeing him being played. I want him to stop playing villains. Okay, I'm frustrated even trying to say it. Stop it. And he's just doing his Giancarlo Esposito shtick. Villainous Gus. He's Gus. He's Cyber Gus. We've gotten regular Gus chat. We've gotten prequel Gus. We've gotten Cuban Yaren Gus. We've gotten space Star Wars Gus. Now, chat, we have white anime Gus. And even his performance, it almost feels like he's talking very fast to kind of keep up with the anime mouth. They're trying to get the lip sync right. And the way in which he's talking sounds I know it's Giancarlo Esposito, but it just sounds kind of off to me, where everyone else for the most part, they sound natural. All the other actors, at least the ones I mentioned, they're doing a good job. But him, it's there's something off about the way you're talking. It doesn't feel natural to me, But, aside from that, the kind of the one-note villains, I liked a lot of the other characters. I liked the rest of the crew. I like David and Lucy's relationship. That's the romance relationship, chat. And even though it's we kind of see where that's going to go and everything. We've seen it time and time before. They have chemistry. That works. They're cute together. They're cute together, and they work together, and they have that chemistry. And I like that, Maine is kind of set up as this father figure who takes care of his people, That's cool. It's that relationship that makes me feel invested in the character and story, despite the generic stuff that we often see in these types of stories. And it's okay, there's enough there where I can feel invested, but also at the same time enjoy the animation. David's he's that tough street youth who, he's going through the rigmarole. He doesn't like, the school he's going to because he doesn't feel appreciated, even though he is very intelligent, he is smart, and he gets out of there. They do some fun things with him, later on. They continue to expand on him. He tries to find himself, and he's good. And Lucy, I think, Lucy to me was the strongest character in the show, at least of what I've seen so far. I really like her. She is too cool for school, chat. She kind of presents herself as this way, but there's a softer side, and David, he finds that, and they find each other. And it's this is nice. And I like Maine. I like the character of Maine. Like I said, he is the dad of the group, and he's trying to take care of everybody. He's like, hey, this is our even though he says listen, at the end of the day, we have our own code, honor all that, but I'm gonna tell you this right now. Always think about yourself, okay? All right. And it's shit like that. And there's other members of the crew too, and they all have their weird little abilities, some more obnoxious than others. But it's all right, it's a nice little family. And so yeah, it's fun. It's fun. There are references. The other thing too, the Studio Trigger, they did a really good job, obviously, of capturing the aesthetic of Cyberpunk 2077, the game, but also because you're at the same apartment complex that V's at, you're all the locations that V goes to, you go to in the anime, and you may see some characters from the game in the anime too. It's I know who that person is. Almost oh, there's that guy. It's okay, that's kind of cool. But they also do something that I thought was pretty cool, where they have the phone conversations. It's just like your HUD from the video game. And so the HUD in front of the person's face, it comes up and you have the little call symbol, and you have the text dialogue as they're talking. It's oh, this is just like the game. Well, this is neat. And so I all that is great. The aesthetic and the animation, very well done. Very well done. There's a lot going on. A lot of strobing. If that bothers you again, if you have epilepsy, if you are prone to seizures, it might not be for you. I would warn you about that. The voice acting, for the most part, it's good, except for, I would say, Giancarlo Esposito. That's the one that really stood out to me. I was I'm not really digging this. And the story is generic story. Although, to be fair, the story in Cyberpunk 2077 was also pretty goddamn generic. But it's fun. It's a good time so far. I've not watched all the episodes. I think I'm on episode 7 or 8, so I'm almost done. I think there are 10 episodes. Yeah, there's 10 episodes. So, yeah, I just finished episode 8. So, I'll tell you, I think it's worth a watch. I would give it, like, right now I'm kind of feeling like, yeah, this is an entertaining matinee on the double toasted scale, Jay. Very entertaining matinee. I think if they just, I don't know, just gave this a more interesting story, because I'm not really interested in the overall corporate evil bad guy plot. I'm like, whatever, sure. Because I don't even know what, I guess other than, like, being about Keanu Reeves being inside your head in the original game, I was like, oh, that was kind of cool. But I didn't remember the original plot to Cyberpunk. I was more invested in the romantic relationship between V and Pan Am. Like here, I'm more invested in the romantic relationship between David and Lucy. I like that. The main plot, I was like, I don't really fucking care. So I feel like if they just had a more interesting story, this could have done a lot. It would have upped it to like a full price for me, or like a low full price. But for right now, I would just give it. It's a matinee. It's a good entertainment matinee. It's a very good, I think, video game adaptation. I believe this takes place 1 year before the events of Cyberpunk, so it is like a prequel. It takes place in the year 2076, so it's like, oh, okay, that's why these certain characters are here, and and then what later on in the video game, it's like, oh, it's all kind of, it's like, okay, this leads to that, so it's like, that's kind of neat. But yeah, I liked it. It's flawed. It's got some issues, chat. But I enjoyed it. I'm curious to see how it's all going to wrap up in the future. But for right now, 8 episodes in, nearly done, on the penultimate episode, onto the finale. Give it a watch. Unless you're prone to epilepsy and seizures. What about you guys? Has anyone seen the show so far? What have you thought so far? Do you like it, are you kind of on my, level? Do you have some issues with it? Same issues that I had? I'm curious. Jersey, I saw it. I liked it. There you go. Yeah. Casey, I'll check it out. I like this focus on Edgerunners and these kids. Nice, check it out. Pan Am is a god. She is a cutie patootie. Indeed. Watch all the way through. Solid anime. I'm not a big anime fan, but I will give you a shot based on your recommendation. Yeah, there's better anime out there. Hell, there's better video game anime out there. Like Castlevania is much better than this, I would say. That's like full price, constantly, consistently. So going with that in mind, or Arcane, which is not anime, but it's, it's an animated adaptation of a video game. So like that is much better than this. But it might be worth checking out. This and Tekken Bloodline are the two better video game miniseries animes this year. Tekken Bloodline has that frustrating triangle shadow and everything, though. Oh, interesting. I'll watch the episode. I would go 2 episodes, because I don't know if episode 1 you'll be invested. Because I think episode 1 was, of what I have seen so far, episode 1 was like, okay, this is what we're doing. All right. That's the one I felt was the weakest so far. Let's see here. Cyberpunk Edgerunners is really fun, but man, there's a lot of sex. That's the other thing I should have mentioned. There's a lot of sex in here. And listen, I know Cyberpunk is very gratuitous with its violence. It's very violent. It's bloody. People are popping like water balloons. I mean, blood, viscera, happens to characters, it's everywhere. There's also a lot of sex in this too. And I guess in the sex, most of the sex in this show is kind of just done for shock. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And listen, I'm not a prude or anything, but I'm like, does this add anything to it, really? I'm just like, okay. Sure. But I know that's the world, that's the aesthetic. But at the same time, it's like, whoa, sex scene and boobs and fluid. There is fluid. There is jism. All that good stuff, chap. Come, if you will. I haven't seen a show, but I like Studio Trigger. They've made great shows like Kill la Kill, Little Witch Academia, and Brand New Animal. I would give this a try. Do you even know about it? Check it out, Mondra. Edgerunners 10, a couple flaws, but character development like David's growth. David's a cool character. I like David. Arcane's so good. I think your girl just doesn't have the time or experience that some of those other people have. Steve Blum talks about that a lot. Sometimes the lines that are translated don't fit well, so you have to try to adjust the lines. Good point. So they make a line long, shorter, speed the line up, slow it down, or change the line altogether. It takes a while to learn that. Some of these guys like Steve and the other OGs of American dubbing are, he is. He's one of the best. And Giancarlo Esposito has not mastered that. Like, he's talking so fast. He's talking like this. I was like, why are you doing? That's just weird. Trigger gave me Studio Trigger vibe mix of the world of summer. Yes, very much so. So I'll skip the episode. Watch it, but just watch both of them. Watch is like an hour long. Edgerunners very much in keeping with CP 27. I mean, yeah, it's set in the same world. The characters from the game are in the anime. I mean, that's not a spoiler. I'm not telling you who they are, but there's some that are in the anime. I like the story, especially at the end, but it's more of an action anime. Oh, very much action anime. It's a lot of nudity anime for sure. A lot of boobs, a lot of fleshlights. That's the other thing too. Don't often see this, chat. There's a shit ton of fleshlights in this show. And people just going, oh, you see a lot of O faces. You see a lot of people you don't want to see use a fleshlight, chat. I mean, it's like, I don't need this. A lot of jerking off in the show, too. The popping in the shootout scenes was fun. Oh, Comey Hazel, good to see you. Hope you're doing very well. Welcome, welcome. Pleasure to have you. Ebony, the doctor casually talking while machine just exactly. You'll get scenes where people are just having conversations while they are using a flashlight that's going the whole time. 100%. Yeah, the Rip Doc. Yeah. Heard the comments about the urban. Wait, English Plus should Google the cramps out. Oh, it's yeah. They do that. Hentai, you better believe it. There's a lot of fluid. A lot of fluid. So, does Jigo Zito play any other character than Gus? He used to. He used to. I want to see him try that again. Oh. If looking for a more serious anime, Mega Bloks is good. I heard about that. Yeah. If I want to see fluid, I will watch porn. Exactly. Yeah. It's just. You know, it's just there to shock you. Just go like, oh, it's not even sexy. It's not really even sexy, you know. Because even the nipples, I mean, there's some of the women have the nipples. Other times they're just like, you know, they got robo boobs. They have robo boobies. And, you know, they have like, you'll see a pair of boobies and just like, you know, a headless body and they're going to, it's just nuts, you know. And I'm like, that's like Double Toasted Sunday. So you goddamn right, Zodi. I didn't watch it yesterday, so I was like, fuck it. I'll bite the bullet. I'll watch it tonight and do it. Because I didn't have time to do some other stuff I wanted to do. I was like, let me just do this. Let's see. I started watching it last night. I was like, all right, let me just watch as much as I can today. Let's see here. Well, okay, sweet. Maybe I'll sell a special one at work. I'll send you. Thank you, Drillers. I have not yet finished it yet, but I really like what I saw. I think it's Stu Trooper's best work so far. Excuse me. And gave me what I was hoping to get from the game. I need to be the Charles Xavier just so it'll be a good... That's what I want. I seriously want to be Professor X. Charles? Yes, 100%. I want to be a heroic character in MCU. Most of the MCU, because DC at this point, I'm like, I don't know. We'll see what happens with DC. I don't trust it. Yeah. I like the Edgerunners about a crew of folks who run no sports, but the game is more of a solo. Yes. I mean, you interact with other people, but sure. Saw a 3-breasted lady in one of those clips. Oh, baby. A lot of boobies. Just save your time and watch Juicy. You can do that too. Easy. That's right. We get deplorable on here. The things I talk about, the things I describe in vivid detail, whew, it's a little hot. But yeah, chat, that's my review for Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Fun. It's got some good stuff in it. It's got some flaws. But I think it might be worth checking out. Yeah, matinee, chat.